Greetings, salutations, welcome in. I'm Samuel the Infamous, and this is Whispering in the Dark. Welcome in. I'm just kind of chilling tonight. I don't really have any special topics, but it is that time of the month, so I gotta stop calling it that. I gotta stop calling it that time of the month. That's so messed up. Anywho, welcome in, everybody. This is the show where we just kind of chill out, relax, hang out, and have discussions. You know, you, me, the fence post, that sort of thing. Welcome in, everybody. We are doing the thing. All right. We are currently live on Twix, YouTube, and Rumble. If you're in any of those places, please drop a comment. Let me know you're here, especially on this show, because this is the one where we interact most directly. Just welcome in, everybody. I don't know. Like I said at the top, I don't really have any topics, so we're just going to kind of wing it a little bit. We're going to talk about some stuff. We're going to talk about some things. Just kind of whatever comes up, really. As long as it's not Jeremy Hamley. I'm not talking about him. I don't want anything to do with that mess. So we're going to leave that alone. Oh, welcome in. Lord help us, Tampa. Good to see you. You did make it. In fact, we just started. So you haven't missed much. Not that there's much to miss on this. It's mostly just avatar, background, nameplate, me talking to you guys. That's it. It's pretty much it. I don't usually bring anything. Sometimes I have topics. Sometimes I don't. Tonight's one of those nights where I got nothing. So we'll be doing that. Old Blindy, welcome in. Brokeback Mountain 2 Scissor Hill Watch Party. What? No. You know what? If Amira were here, you'd be in the naughty corner real fucking quick. So, anywho, the only thing that came to mind, right? So today was a pretty strenuous work day for me. A lot of shit going on. We're in the middle of a remodel. There's a bunch of stuff going on with contractors and whatnot. And quite frankly, they're making my job harder. And they will be for the next several months at least. We're already like 4.5 months into this bullshit, but it is what it is. Anyway, one of the things that I started thinking about, because this started happening to me today on account of, busting ass and sweating a little bit, and all that stuff. You ever wear like what you think is a soft cotton t-shirt, but it's not soft cotton. It's actually rough cotton, but it's soft enough so you don't give it too much thought. You just kind of get into it or whatever. And you start working, you start sweating, and then the shirt starts rubbing. And before you know it, one of your nipples is just chafed the fuck, and like this lightest breeze makes it feel like it's on fire. That happened to me today. Welcome in, Lepo. Good to see you, man. Somebody rolled over my bumper and attached a cord to get my house. Oh, yeah. No, that'd do it. Yep, definitely getting scratchy. It's a funny AI created trailer. Okay, fair enough. I've been trying to avoid things that I know are AI in terms of like created content or whatever. Like I obviously have several internet friends who dabble in that, and some of them who are quite adept at it. Clifton 3D, Mr. Grant Gregory, both real big into AI and all that stuff, and see more its benefits than its downsides, whereas I'm on the other end of that spectrum and all that. So I don't usually go out of my way to watch something that I know is AI. Sometimes I will, and sometimes, if I'm being perfectly honest, I can't always tell the difference. Sometimes I'm getting better at it, but most of the time, it's just like if I don't know beforehand going in and it's not real obvious, I might not guess that it is. So, still investigating if you're AI. Yeah, I get that. I do. We had the last time we did one of these, the whole AI thing came up, and the fact that like you're hearing my voice, but you're not seeing anything. You're seeing an avatar, right? And to be fair, my avatar was created through the use of AI. So this current avatar, anyway, was created in part due to the use of AI. The whole shiny green eye thing is an asset that got added into it. The background, like, it pulled from somewhere else, so on and so forth. But the green dude in the hood was put together through AI. And actually, it's pretty obvious because some of the tentacles just kind of like go nowhere. And one of them, as you can see on the right side there, kind of just loops around into itself, and it is what it is, right? At some point, I hope to do something a little bit more concrete, like same image, just kind of less, I guess, built by a program and more by, actual human artists kind of thing. But we're not there yet. This was cheap and easy, so this is what we get. But for the most part, I do try to avoid it. Although I have been known on occasion to pick fights with Grok. I do that kind of for fun, like, why don't you have the three laws of robotics programmed into you? Take, like, just justify your existence, that kind of thing. So, are you queasy now, Lepo? Oh, if I get a queasy feeling, I assume it's AI. Yeah. I mean, it could be. It could be. I do need to throw a cotton shirt. Well, the polyester moisture wicking shirts cost more money than I currently have, and I have a lot of. Over the years, I've collected a kind of staggering collection of novelty T-shirts, right? Like with the silkscreen prints on them and all that. I got a lot of those, a lot, and band T-shirts, which are usually made of the cheapest possible materials and that kind of thing. I'm not throwing all that out. I'm gonna wear it until it falls off, and some of them, to be fair, have. I have a. Well, I was just thinking about it the other day. My Carhartt jacket is actually older than my youngest kid. I've had that thing forever, and it is falling apart. It's time to replace it. It's been time to replace it for like 3 years. um, but I'm also cheap. I'm a very cheap guy. I don't spend a lot of money where I don't have to, mainly because I don't have a lot of money, but also just because I don't see the point in replacing something if it still works, which has kind of been a problem lately. With what do they call it? Planned obsolescence, right? Like products, they're built to break down. They're built to be cheap and disposable and breakable and unfixable because they want you to keep buying from them. It's a whole kind of live service via textiles and electronics kind of thing, and automobiles and that sort of thing. Like, they're built to fail. They're built to fail, and that's annoying for someone who likes to wear things out as long as possible. So, it is what it is. Usually a couple of dollars. I mean, yeah, I guess if I ever bought off of eBay, I might think about that. I don't usually buy a lot of things through the internet either. There's a few exceptions, obviously, because the town I live in clearly doesn't sell microphones, for example. So my mic, I had to order through Amazon. But for a lot of things, if I can't get it locally, I just don't bother. It just is what it is. You had to bought one of those sweet wick. I'm assuming the shirts that wick away the sweat and whatnot. Had to trash it even after watching Smell Like an Armpit. I mean, well, that's the thing. It's supposed to absorb all of that crap, right? So it does. It did as advertised. It's just, now it smells like a gym locker. So, welcome in, Alpha. Good to see you, man. So, but yeah, no, I mean, to be fair though, the whole wicking part that worked as advertised, right? So I don't know. I think the last time I had anything that was of that nature was I used to have Under Armour compression shorts, right? Back when I was doing fighting in my late 20s, which is nearly 20 years ago, which is kind of shocking to me. But I had these compression shorts, and they got the cup pocket in the front and all that. And I think that was the only thing that I ever had that was along those lines. I think I might have had a do-rag at one point that was Under Armour with the moisture wicking technology or whatever. But I don't know. That was just to keep the air out of my eyes while I was getting my ass kicked in the ring, So it was, last thing you want is your hair to stick to the bloody gash that's just above your left eye, right? You don't need that shit. That makes things worse, especially when they're coated in sweat, because the sweat, when it drips into an open wound, stings like a motherfucker. You know? Excuse me. I don't know why I didn't just mute that just now. I guess I've been kind of getting lazy about that on the game streams. So most of the time on live streams like this, I try to be better about muting the whole coughing thing. And by the way, for those of you who don't know, I smoke like a chimney. I've had a cough for like 10 years. So a persistent cough. So it is what it is. But yeah, it is. It definitely is. But it's still, I mean, it's like you don't want that shit happening. And if you've got your hair soaked in sweat and it flops down over an open wound, it's gonna hurt. So the do rag keeps it out of your eyes, keeps it out of your face, and all that. Not that getting punched in the face doesn't hurt. It does. It hurts quite a bit. But after like the third time, you can't really feel it anymore. So you can't really feel much of anything. So it's a bit of a trade-off, I guess. You also can't see much, and your balance is shot. So things get a little blurry, a little dark around the edges and all that stuff, and you get a little woozy, and your inner balance is all off and shit because it's been knocked around by somebody bludgeoning you in the head with their fucking fists. So, what's up, D-Day? Welcome in, man. Good to see you. Good to see you. So, man, I kind of miss that though. I miss those days. I miss fighting. I'm too old for it now. I'm no Gina Carano. I'm in no way motivated to get back in shape and get into the ring with somebody else who should also still be retired. But I do miss it. I do miss those days. Best shape of my life, and probably the most time spent just lying around waiting for my body to heal at the same time. It was a lot of that shit. Yeah, it was like a week or so between fights generally because you needed that time to recover. I missed though some of my and I lost a hell of a lot more than I won. I didn't have like an official record because it was we weren't even professionals. We're just it was all amateur, but I wasn't keeping track of that sort of thing, and I mostly just fought with people I knew and that kind of thing. And it was a good time though. It was a good time. I did have a couple of really spectacular wins, but not too many. One in particular, I managed to get my opponent. So my opponent was this pal of mine at the time who was a good deal shorter than I am. A good deal. He's like maybe 5'5", right? I'm 6'5", but he was also stockier than me, and he was cut a little bit better than I was, and he was definitely in better shape. And I'm kind of lanky, like I got that wiry strength, that scrapper strength, but I'm not like out lifting engine blocks or anything like that with my dick. We're just, so kind of unevenly matched, right? And also, I think he at the time had a good, I want to say a good 30 pounds on me, right? Mostly muscle and all that, but I did manage to get him a few times, and one of my absolute favorites was I managed to get one of his legs in a figure 4 leg lock. Not both, just one. While I had him from behind, right? I got my hooks in under his arms and all that shit, and I just kind of locked in behind his head and little Nelson action going on. And I locked his leg with my legs, and I just stretched. I just kind of relaxed into a lengthy stretch. Now, keep in mind, this guy's a foot shorter than I am. He tapped out, and a week later, he was still complaining that he felt like he was walking in circles. That was good. It was a good day. So yeah, it was yeah, and the tentacles. But yes, I am 6'5", but I'm a scrawny 6'5". I'm not like buff or anything like that. I'm not. I'm certainly not like Dermy is. Dermy Wormy, for those of you who don't know, I think most of you do, but for those of you who don't know, is also 6'5", but he is nearly that height across too. He's a big boy. He's a big, big boy. And there are other YouTubers that we run with who are actually taller than I am. Not many, but there are a few. Static 2020 is, I think, 6'7", and I think his brother's like 6'9", kind of thing. Like there are a few who make me look not that tall. Not most of them. Most of them, it's the other way around. I'm looking down on everybody all the time. They're like, "How's the weather up there?" And I'm like, "Looks like rain." And I whip out my dick and I start pissing. I don't actually do that, but you really you get so tired of that question. So D-Day, yeah, yeah. No, don't. I just realized what you did there. Stop it. Stop it right now. So, God damn it! Now you're all doing it. And chat, knock it off. Teenager to grocery store is 6'10". Yeah, I mean it happens. It happens. So, but 6 feet 7 inches. He's a very big boy. You know what's really funny too is actually my ex-wife is even shorter than that pal I mentioned that I was fighting with. She's 5'3". I am 14 inches taller than that woman. 14. She comes up to my sternum. That's how short she is. Both of our kids are taller than she is. She's a very short woman. It's kind of funny because somebody said something the other day. I think in Amira's chat talking about like a nice short woman is like, and she said something about like everybody's the same height lying down. I can tell you categorically that is a false statement. No, they're not. A height difference like that makes certain things difficult. But yeah. Anyway, not that matters. It's fine. Hey, Jacob, welcome in. Good to see you. Good to see you, man. Yeah, kind of a lot of people here right off the bat. We don't usually get this many in this soon for this show, especially given that it's only once a month. We got 9 viewers watching on multiple platforms. That's pretty awesome. Appreciate you guys being here. So, but yeah, it's just it is what it is. Oh, what's Lapo saying here? Short women wants tall men, not realizing that the kids will be about the average height of both. It depends. It depends on their genetics, right? Because in my family, most of the men are very tall, right? Not so much on my father's side, and more on my mother's side, which again is really funny because she's like 5'2". But she's got several first cousins through her mother, who are all like between 6'10" and 7'2", right? There's a lot of height coming at me from that side. And then my ex-wife, even though she's short, all of her brothers, she has a number of brothers, and all of them are well over 6 feet tall, all of them. And I think her dad was before he started shrinking because he, got old and had a whole bone loss issue and spinal problems and all that. But before that, I think he was up there too. And she just got the short end of the stick from her mom's gene pool. And so our kids, so I have a stepdaughter and I have a child with her that is mine by blood. And I'm not entirely sure about the stepdaughter's genetics in terms of like how tall people are and all that stuff on her father's side, her biological father's side. I raised her; she's my kid, but she only got about maybe an inch, probably less, taller than her mother. She is taller, but and when it happened, when she hit that growth spurt and she surpassed her mom, she crowed about it for like a year. It was really funny. But the other one comes up to my shoulders currently and is quite a bit younger. Now, my shoulders are about, I don't know, 5 to 7 inches higher than the top of my sternum, which would be about where she is. She's She's quite a bit taller than her mom already, and all that. And I think that she got slammed with tall genes from both sides of the family. So, because sometimes that shit does skip a generation. It's not always about what your parents are. It's more about what your parents are carrying in their genes, kind of thing. Um, and also like eye color, right? Both kids inherited a variant of their mother's eye color. Neither of them have mine. Well, obviously the older one, the stepdaughter, doesn't have mine, um, but she has the dominant eye color too in terms of genes. She has brown eyes, whereas I have. Let me put it this way. I'll just say they're hazel. They tend to shift with my mood and what I'm wearing into variants of gray, green, and blue. So sometimes there's a little gold in them. Although I suspect the gold is mostly from a buildup of toxins over the years, because my grandmother on my mother's side had a similar thing going on, and I'm pretty sure it was because she smoked for like 50 years. So, you know, um, and I think that stuff gets deposited where it's visible in your eyes. It makes for some pretty colors, but it usually means you're not very healthy, um, and all that. And I do have gold rings around my the inside of my irises, around my pupils. So, which is, I mean, it looks cool. I'll say that it looks cool, but it wasn't there when I was younger. It used to be a more solid color all the way across, and now it's like I got heterochromia in both eyes. It's the weirdest thing. Uh, Tall women do not want short men; they want even taller men. Yeah, but they got slimmer pickings though too, don't they? Right? Like logically, you think about that. It's like there are only so many tall men. There are even fewer tall women who are that tall, right? Like if I were to meet a woman who was like 6'6", and which would put her at an inch taller than I am. I mean, I don't know how much she could complain, because there aren't that many guys of my height in this area either. So, you know, not that there's a lot of super tall women out here, but yeah, they're a handful. They're a handful. Jacob Gallo, me and my brother are taller than our parents. Came from our mother's side of the family. Yeah, yep, that's what I'm talking about, man. So yeah, it's one of those things where you just kind of got to hit the genetic lottery and see what happens, man. With any luck, if you don't have any like weird mutations lying dormant in there, or Habsburg syndrome, you know, you come out okay. But sometimes people get all the wrong genes, and then you end up with Ethan Ralph. So it's what it is. Um, not that Ethan Ralph needs to be catching strays from me or anything like that. I think he's got enough on his plate as it is. Anywho, genetics are a funny thing like that, though, right? Because there are certain things that now we've discussed this on the show before about how um, one of my kids sleeps with their eyes open, right? Well, so do I, and I have since I was a child. I had no idea that was a thing that could be passed on, because I never told her about it or trained her to do it or any of that stuff. She just started doing it. It was very weird, and it was a weird thing to be on the other end of, because usually it's me. So, but there's certain things, certain behaviors, and ticks and whatnot that get transferred uh, via genetics that have absolutely nothing to do with exposure to that person, right? Apparently, according to my mother, there are certain traits and behaviors that I exhibit that are very, very, very similar to my own biological father, who I have very limited experience with, because I didn't know him, not really. Last time I'd seen him before I was a teenager, I think I was about 2 years old, and I didn't see him again until I was almost 14, almost 15, right? And we knew each other for a couple of years in that period. Didn't get along very well, went our separate ways, and then about 10 years down the road, I heard he died. So I didn't really know him very well. Um, And according to my mother, there are certain things, like certain expressions that I'll get on my face or certain movements that I'll do that are just him to a T, and I haven't had that kind of exposure with him, not from a young age or anything. So, it's just weird how that works, It's weird. It's the syndrome that makes short guys undesirable, in my opinion. Oh, you mean like the Napoleon syndrome? Where they're like, I'm tall, I'm tiny, so I got to make my personality as big and boisterous and raucous and let's face it, caustic as possible. That syndrome, yeah, because that's not a good look on anybody. you know, it's I've seen that shit a lot too. The guy I mentioned earlier, who I was fighting with, um, back in the day, he had that in spades because he was a short dude, little short dude. Always had to make sure everybody knew he was a fucking top dog, though. Weirdly, though, women seemed to go for it. He was a bit of a whore. The term that another friend of ours used to describe him was a plague in that regard. Um, yeah, they didn't seem to, it was so weird because they didn't like him. They didn't like talking to him or hanging out with him because he was a dick, right? But it didn't stop him from sleeping with him. And a lot of them, you know, he never wanted for company in bed, not once. Not as far as I know, anyway. I haven't talked to the guy in like 18 years, something like that. So things may have changed on that front. I heard he got fat, which is really fucking funny because he was a fitness nut when I knew him. But that's as far as I know about him. I think I kept in touch with his sister for a little while, and then she vanished off the face of the map. And one of my brothers was friends with him for a long time after I walked away and all that. And so he used to give me periodic updates just because he thought, oh well, yeah, you should know what's going on with them. I was like, no, I don't really care. I don't need to know. It's not my problem or my business. But here we are. Here we are. Sometimes the short ones are packing. Sometimes it's true. Can't judge a dick by its cover, right? So maybe he was tall in another place. I've seen it. He was a little above average, but it was still only above average. So and all that. I mean, we lived together for 3-4 years, something like that, and all kinds of shenanigans ensued. We didn't have a single roommate who didn't see every part of everybody else's stuff at some point or another. And shit happens. It was a weird time in my life. So one of our roommates was this young woman who, let me just say, she put up with a lot from everybody. She wanted to join in on the reindeer games, as it were. And the rule was, well, we can either treat you like a girl, which you are, and take care of you and protect you and do all the things that men are supposed to do around girls, or you can join us, but you have to accept the fact that you will be treated no differently than we treat each other, which is harsh and painful. She signed on the dotted line, accepted the fine print and everything. And to be fair, she gave pretty good, as maybe not quite as good as she got, but she gave pretty good. She got into actual boxing lessons with a licensed instructor at one point. Because she took a real liking to it, and she got pretty decent for a while there. I don't think she keeps up with that anymore. She is currently a registered nurse, doing stuff in a small town, keeping people healthy and all that stuff, which is a little bit, it's not that far off from where she wanted to go into, but it's a bit of a departure from what her initial plans were, what she was doing in college anyway, which was sports medicine, which is what she wanted to do. So it's just, it is what it is, I guess. I was a janitor for a hockey team. I saw things I really did not want to see and weird behaviors. I mean, yeah. Think of it this way. That house was like one big locker room but like a locker room from Starship Troopers. and not, a normal segregated locker room. Things were seen and done and said that maybe should remain buried in the past. So I was just talking about one of the guys who used to come over and hang out with us in that house a while back, and the time we had to thaw his balls off the sliding glass door in January. Like I said, things that need to be just left alone in the past. He was a good dude too. He just, took the like. Have you guys seen the movie Waiting, for example? This is probably the easiest way to explain this, and I've talked about this on the channel before, I think. But so in the movie Waiting, there's a game that the wait staff and the kitchen staff play with each other, where they try to surprise each other with an unwelcome glimpse of each other's balls or genitalia in various states of undress and disarray. We had a similar game. The idea was to surprise people with a full-on nut shot or whatever, happened to be. And he got us. He got us good. He went out on the patio for a cigarette, and we were all watching a movie, not paying attention. We hear this tapping on the glass on the patio door, and we look over, and they're smushed right up against it, right up against the door. Pair of nuts, just flat as a pancake. He got us. He got us all. But karma being what it is, and it being January in Wyoming, then we had to go get cups of warm water to peel his balls off of the fucking glass. It was a very slow process, and I don't know if you've ever stuck your tongue to something that's frosted over, right, when you were a kid, kind of thing. Think about that, but on your junk, basically. That poor son of a bitch. My 20s were a wild time. A lot of crazy shit happened in those days. I kind of miss them. The adventures, not so much. Well, no, I miss quite a bit about that. I miss being in better shape, which I could do something about. I miss the ridiculously stupid games, which I don't really actually want to go back to. I just, nostalgia. It is what it is. And there's just so much about it that I don't know. It was a good period of time in my life for the most part. For the most part, and I was in between doing like bad shit too. I had been off drugs for a while, and I had been, you know, getting into shape a little bit better and all that. And it was started to care a little bit more, which is so weird because I was actually planning on being dead by the time I was 30, and then that didn't happen. So I got married. You know? But yeah, it was a strange time. I've lived a varied life. Saw it happen with the flagpole. Yeah, yeah, that happens. Darwin Award party house. I mean, nobody actually died, so there's that, right? Bones might have been broken. Some of mine were broken, but nobody actually died. So, and we had a rule, right? Everybody needs this kind of rule. Whatever your friend's situation is, whatever your circle situation is, you need this rule. This is a very important rule. Bear with me. Make sure that they don't need to go to the hospital and then make fun of them. Don't do it the other way around. You lose valuable time laughing your ass off when you could be stitching a finger back on. That's all I'm saying. So, yeah. Lost ability to procreate. No, I mean there were some times when I really thought that was the case because a lot of nut shots, and I might have been exposed to an unhealthy amount of radiation back then too. So we had the leaky microwave. It was the whole thing. Um, so for a while there, I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if I can't have kids if I killed my ability to do it. But no, a couple years later, I get have a kid, get married. Turns out I can still knock one out. So He didn't die at 30, so so he chose soul death instead. I mean, I didn't think of it like that at the time. In retrospect, you may be correct, but at the time, not how I saw it. So, and honestly, had I chosen better, I'd probably still be married. I didn't mind being a husband. I just minded being her husband, if that makes sense. So, and it wasn't. I didn't end the marriage, by the way. I didn't end it. She did. That was all on her. I was willing to try and work through it because as a good husband should, in my opinion. She just wasn't interested. So I got to find myself. I don't know who I am with you. All that usual bullshit. So it's another Darwin Award is ending your life. I mean, yeah. Lead and arsenic and paint. Yeah, there's probably some of that too. Probably that house was kind of old. They stopped using lead-based paint in Wyoming in like 1976 or some shit like that. But I think this house was a little older than that. So they probably still had some. It was definitely old enough to have gold wiring, right? Which I think they stopped using in 1972. And the reason that they stopped using gold wiring instead and switched over to copper is that while gold is a much, much better conductor of electricity than copper is, it also has a tendency to burst into flame, and electrical fires are a bitch to put out when they're inside the walls and you can't get to them. And also gold is very, very expensive by comparison to copper, but mostly had to do with the electrical fire thing. But it is a better conductor. It's a much better conductor. And we had gold wires in the house, so it was older. He was probably going nuts trying to get his balls unstuck. Yeah, he was. I will give him this. Dude was very calm about the whole thing because he had to be. Because if he jerked real hard, he was going to lose a bunch of skin, right? So he had to be calm. He had to be patient. He basically had to let us warm up and then spatula his nutsack off the glass. Otherwise, it could have ended up with him in the hospital. It didn't, luckily, but but yeah, if he hadn't been outwardly at least calm about it, he was sort of like a dude who steps on a landmine, right? Just not going to move. He's like, nope, I'm staying right here till this is resolved. Aluminum as wire was prone to overheat too. Yeah. Aluminum makes a very, very good conductor of heat. Less so electricity. While electricity generates heat, it is not in itself heat, right? If that makes sense. It also generates light, but it isn't light either. It's kind of its own thing. But yeah, it moves better through some things than through others. Weirdly enough, wood does not conduct electricity. It's a very strange thing. Whereas water will not only conducts electricity very, very well, it also conducts sound unbelievably well, which was news to my young mind when I found that out as a kid. I mean, I imagine it was news to everybody when they found that out, but it was mind blowing at the time. I was like, it does. Now, to be fair, hearing the sound and deciphering the sound are two different things, which is like things sound kind of like distorted underwater, but that doesn't mean that it's not carrying the sound waves. It just means that they're also being distorted by the waves in the water itself and all that jazz. That's why it sounds fucky, but you can hear it. You just can't always make out what's being said. Old house renovated, had aluminum with wire inside paper installation. Wait. So the house was insulated with paper, or the insulation on the wiring was paper? Let me know, because I mean they're both crazy, but the second one is much crazier. Oh, good God, dude! How does that house not burn the fuck down? Right? That is nuts. who the hell insulates wire with paper? I mean, I get that it's paper is non-conductive as well, primarily because it's made of wood fibers, and I understand that, but it is prone to combustion through exposure to heat, which is generated by electricity, which would have been passing through. That is the dumbest design. You're just asking for an inside lightning bolt. That's crazy. Fuck, if I moved into a place and I found that out, I would go live in a cardboard box under the bridge before I stayed there again. You know? It's like, I'll take my chances with flash flooding and actual lightning. Thank you very much. That's nuts. I don't know anybody who would willingly want to move into something like that if they knew about it. If they knew about it, like realtors obviously don't always tell the truth about things like this, and you know how it goes. So I don't know, man. But yeah, oh, there was this one house that my when I was still married, my ex and I were checking out, and this thing was incredible because it was so the house itself was 110 years old, right? For this area, that is very old, right? That's before pretty much anywhere in Wyoming was incorporated, except maybe Casper and Cheyenne, maybe. Um, very, very, very old. And this was technically in South Dakota anyway, but still, 110-year-old house, 3 stories, massive yard. The yard itself, the just the yard was an acre, right in the middle of town. That's a huge amount of land for a house in town. Had 3 stories, had a full basement. The problem in the basement was is because of the way that the moisture was working, and it was sitting on the side of the hill a little bit, so the moisture would seep into the hill after rainfall, and it would all sort of pool up on the edge of the house. So one of the concrete foundations was just like bowed in and cracked right through the middle, and they had a bunch of these like big steel brackets just sort of like screwed into the wall with these gigantic fucking rebar bolts. Just made it look like Frankenstein's wall, like just stitches, big giant metal stitches across to hold the wall together so that the erosion didn't just basically wash away the foundation of the house underneath it. Place looked haunted as fuck. I loved it. I wish we had been able to get in there. It was a whole credit issue thing, as in I didn't have any. So, man, rather take your chances living outside? Yeah, same. Found a lot of old coins, silver ones, but I mean, yeah, that's cool. That's a bonus. That's a good deal. My dad, still to this day, when he finds a cool coinage or whatever, he'll send me stuff. He's a collector, so he finds all kinds of weird shit out there. At one point, he sent me a coin from I want to say the year roundabouts the year 400 from the Roman Empire. It's got a face on it. I don't know whose. It's very, very worn, but and I have no idea if it's worth anything or not because my grubby mitts have touched it. But it's a pretty cool thing to have. We got Alpha saying when it was like 14, thunderstorm sent some lightning through a window and blew off all the switches of the fixture. Scared the hell out of me. Yeah, it'd do that. It'd do that. So my dad's one of the old ones. Yeah, he's one of the old racist ones. Ariel, welcome in. So I love my dad, but yeah, no, he's a racist. Like old school racist. As in he means it. So, but yeah, no, man, that house, that was so cool. And it was a good price. And it was just like they had this like 3-car garage, right? But it was the inside of the garage looked like one of those old horror movies where they always end up in like the boiler room or an abandoned factory or some shit like that. It had a number of windows broken. I fucking loved that place. It was awesome. Creepiest stairs down to the basement you've ever seen in your life. It was great. I still miss out on that house. I think, there's even, so you had the first floor, second floor, third floor, basement, and there was even an attic, right? Where they had one of those like, those like pull down trap doors, right? Where they drops down and then a ladder comes out and you can climb up into it. And we tried to get the realtor to take us up there to show us. And apparently, dude has a phobia about attics because he was like, no, not at all. You're welcome to go up and look around yourself. You will never get me up there. It was pretty funny. So my dad's a KKK member. No, because he kind of thinks those guys are idiots too. Not in their beliefs, but just in the whole robe thing. He always thought that was kind of gay. And when I say gay and he says gay, I mean like homosexual. Yeah, he always thought that whole like gathering around and chanting and lighting shit on fire and wearing, ghosty robes and all that stuff was just something that gay dudes did. And also not a Democrat. So that just puts the kibosh on the whole thing. Did my basement resurrect dead animals or people? If so, it's bonus. It did not, as far as I know, but I wasn't really given the chance to find out because, like I said, credit issues. We ended up not being able to get it, unfortunately. Ended up moving somewhere else that was a lot less cool. It was all right, but it wasn't 110-year-old probably haunted because people were axe murdered in the basement cool. Let's see. There's dead people up there from the former people who came to look at the house. Maybe it's possible. He never gave us the opportunity to, go find. He kind of put a rush on things like, oh, we got to get out of here. We got to do this now. We got to get the paperwork rolling on your credit checks and all and your applications and all this stuff. Let's go take care of all that. Like he got real anxious to get out of the house entirely when we, and he wasn't going to leave us there without him. As soon as the whole attic issue came up. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm kind of wondering if he was hiding somebody up there or some body up there even. I mean, I did kind of find out later that we probably would have gotten the house if I had just like slipped him a couple of, slipped him a sizable bribe or whatever. He is a little corrupt. So maybe there was a body in that attic. I don't know. Racist towards everyone that's not him or family. Yeah. And even then he hates half of the family too. So, but yeah, no, he's not a fan of black people at all. Once told me that if I ever walked into his house with a black person, and that's not the word he used, I was not welcome back. If that puts things in perspective for you. So now he'll get along with them, and he doesn't start shit with them or anything like that. He just doesn't like them. And he's very, very vocal about not liking them. But it is what it is, I guess. I don't know. I was sleeping with this black chick fucking 15 years ago, something like that. And she was always like, why don't you ever want to go out with me? Are you ashamed to be seen with me? I was like, no, but, if my dad sees you, he'll probably kill us both. So it's like, it's not really about you as it is about him. So, yeah. Someone hanged themselves up there and he didn't want to tell you someone died. See, here's the thing. By law, if you ask directly questions about that sort of thing, like did somebody commit suicide? Did somebody commit murder? Did something horrifying happen here? They have to answer you. So they try to steer the conversation away from those questions so that they don't, like, if something did happen, they don't have to answer it. Because that'll lose them a commission. Kind of thing. What a way to get rid of a girlfriend. Yeah. Yeah. That wasn't so to be clear, Ariel, she wasn't my girlfriend. We were just fucking. And as far as all that goes, I mean, I think she wanted to be more. That's typically how that goes, right? But that wasn't going to happen. I was very clear about that shit up front. But as far as like, no, I was honestly, I was worried my dad would throw a brick at her. So it definitely could have happened. I don't know for a fact that he absolutely would have done something horrifyingly violent, but there's always that chance, and you just don't want to risk that chance, right? was like, she was kind of, her and I were kind of whatever, you know. I don't have any special feelings towards her beyond anybody else or anything like that. But it was just, you know, I didn't want to risk seeing her get hurt either because it's fucked up. You know, I mean, I liked her well enough to sleep with her anyway. So she saw how I lived and wanted a piece of it. Nah, I doubt that very much. I think she went over to my apartment once. The rest of the time we spent at hers. So, and it wasn't because I didn't ask her back. She just always preferred to be at her place after she saw mine. So, because I lived like a bachelor, I was in my 20s, man, late 20s, early 30s. You know, this was between the fight house and my wife. So it was right in that period. How money grubbing gold digger. Yeah, yeah. It's, you know, my ex-wife used to make this joke about how she said, I married you for your money, but you don't have any. which is definitely true. Hey folks, I will be right back. We're gonna take a quick break. Real quick, because I'm old and my bladder is small. See you in a minute. You know, I just realized, let me know in the chat whether or not you heard any of that, because I was backstage and I thought I was back up on the screen. And I'm not back up. Now I'm back up on the screen. So from the point where I brought Devil's Chat up on, I have been talking the entire fucking time. God damn it. Well, the good news is at least you guys didn't hear me peeing. So there's that. But anyway, I'll start over. So, Devil there, appreciate you being here, man. But also, like I said, fuck you. You're not that much, not that much younger than I am. What I was going on about was our friend Dermy passed 4,000 subscribers this week due to his content slop kind of blown up. His slop content kind of blown up a little bit, and you know, good for him. And I let him know in a super chat the other day. You know, I was like, congratulations. I might have called him a homo, whatever. But it was a sincere congratulations on that. And so he shouts me out with the super chat, and then he goes, yeah, that's one of my oldest friends. He's like 50. And at first I'm thinking he says oldest friends, like, because I am one of the people that he's known since, he started doing this shit sort of through chats and stuff. Um, and in interactions and whatnot. And so I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'm one of his older internet friends because we've known each other since we both started around the same time. And then he follows that up with, he's like 50. I was just like, I'm 45, fucker. And then I realized how close I actually am to 50. And now I just want to punch everybody in the face who says anything about my age. Anyway, that's all you missed after I brought that chat up on the screen. I was just kind of rehashing all of that. So it's a hot topic for people who care about that sort of thing, Alpha. That's true. That's true. I don't personally. I think that there's some shit that happened that shouldn't have happened, but beyond that, I don't care about the coring. I have not watched any of his content in like 2.5 years. And yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say about him. But I know that every time he gets put on a thumbnail and in a title for Dermy, and he goes on a rant about it for like 45 fucking minutes or whatever, he does really well. For his channel size, he does pretty well. He's been seeing some pretty solid numbers on those videos. I stopped watching them. I was watching them because I was trying to support my friend, and with the watch hours and views and likes and all that shit. But I can't take it anymore. I can't do it anymore. I can't have it's drama. It's YouTube drama, and it's Rumble drama. It's internet. Yeah, it's such garbage. Like, I don't like doing that shit on my own channel. Like, it's something that, so Larry will occasionally bring something up on Abyssal Musings about, this drama thing happened, or that YouTuber did this thing, or whatever. And I'm just like, every time I'm just like, inside I'm cringing, and I'm just going, God damn it, can we talk about anything else? Because A, I don't really care, and B, I don't want to be one of those channels that's always mentioning other channels out of pocket like that, and just kind of like putting myself in a situation I don't actually belong in. Right. And the fact is nobody has to have an opinion one way or the other on anything, so, but my opinion of the whole thing is, and I think it was you who asked me about it before, is like, I think it's somebody else's problem. I know everybody's been going to bat for Kino Casino over this whole thing. I think they're kind of douchebags too. I think what happened was fucked up, and shouldn't have happened. But at the same time, I'm not getting involved any further than I already have been, just because I know people who, talk about it, kind of thing. So, yeah, I mean, like, that's something nobody should be doing. I will say that. That's something nobody should be doing, right? You shouldn't be false striking. You shouldn't be mass flagging. You shouldn't be doing any of that nonsense. Because A, it's petty and bitch made, right? And I'm no stranger from petty, but that's kind of pushing it, right? And B, it's just bad practice. It's bad business practice, man. If you go around making fucking enemies of everybody, you never know who you're going to end up needing to work with down the road, right? That's retarded. Why would you limit yourself like that? Like, it harms you in the long run too. So yeah, no, it's just a thing. Plus, abusing TOS to get shit done like that is, I think that's a step above in terms of just scumbaggery. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend like Jeremy Hambley is A, the only guy who's ever done anything like that, or B, even the guy at the top of my list of people who've done things like that. Not that I have a list, but if I did, he'd be on it somewhere. But probably not in the number one spot, just because he's the most recently in the spotlight about it. It's not really. It is what it is. I don't know. Guy's kind of a shithead, but and his content used to be fun. It's not anymore. It hasn't been for a long time. So I just don't watch his shit anymore. And that's the end of it, as far as I'm concerned. And I never wa I never really got into Kino Casino. I've seen a few of their things here and there just because they're pretty well known and, like, I know people who watch people who do this, who do that. Their names come up, It's like I made the Ethan Ralph joke earlier. Only reason I know who Ethan Ralph is because I used to watch Nick Rekieta back before before all the shit happened with him, you know? And that's the only reason I'd ever even heard of Ethan Ralph before that, because I didn't really get into the internet blood sports era, that sort of thing. I wasn't online in those years. Um, and a lot of those guys, a lot of the OGs of YouTube and that sort of thing, like, unless they're spectacularly world famous, like PewDiePie, for example, I don't even have any idea what most of their names are. There's something like 4.2 million YouTube channels, man. It's a lot of channels. Most of us don't know who who everybody is. It's just it's too much to keep track. Hell, it's hard enough to keep track of the people I actually do know and like and watch and follow. Especially trying to do this too on top of all of that. If I was just viewing it, it'd still be probably a lot. You know. But I mean, I thought he was. So, fun fact though, for a brief period, there was another channel, and I think it was called the Universal Order of Men or some shit like that. I don't know, some goofy ass thing like that. And they did a lot of inspirational be a man videos or whatever. But they also did these hilarious sketch videos, right? And the series that I loved the most was there was a series where they did parodying the quartering, and it was the funniest shit. And I wish I could find them because I was subscribed to them like a while back, but I don't know if their channel's still around anymore. But they did this whole thing where this dude would put on this fake beard and this fucking like flannel shirt and a ball cap and all that stuff, and he would just sort of talk in the style of yeah, kind of thing, and do like little ad reads and shit. And he was like, and it comes in 3 spectacular flavors: red, blue, and crack. It was the funniest fucking shit. I did enjoy the hell out of those. Those were fun. But that was a while back. Yeah, and the blood sports era was before my time, man. That was before my time. So I never really like Devil in chat, who was making fun of how fucking old I am, right? Knows a hell of a lot more about that shit than I do. Because in YouTube years, he's way older. Samuel was too busy destroying a universe in his younger years. I mean, just you say destroying, I say, snacking on. But whatever. Potato, I guess. I never knew how the Beast guy was until everybody talked about him in my feed. Oh, who the Beast guy? Oh, you mean Mr. Beast? Mr. Beast is another one that I'm aware of tangentially, right? I've learned more about him in the recent years than I did know before. I'd heard his name around, because guy's stupid rich and super famous. But like, oh, Mr. Beast saves like 100 people from blindness or some shit like that. Kind of videos. And then all that stuff that happened with all those people that he was apparently keeping against their will and not letting them have medication or food or bathroom breaks or shit like that while he was filming a show for Amazon. There's a lot of weird, shady shit around that whole thing. But it was just stuff that came up in the course of just, kind of tangentially listening to people. They'd mention something offhand here or something there. And sometimes I'd look something up and sometimes I wouldn't. But, I'd always heard his name ever since I'd been online anyway. Before that, I had no fucking idea who he was. I didn't know who PewDiePie was. I didn't know, I barely knew what Charlie the Unicorn was. Like I watched some YouTube back in the day, back in the early days, 2007, 8, 9, that kind of thing. But I wasn't really involved in it, even as a viewer at the time. I was still like buying seasons of TV on DVD and binging those instead of doing anything online, or going out and doing something productive like finding a woman or mowing the lawn. Even I did that a fair amount then too. The creepy smile. Oh, he does have a creepy smile. He does. He's got creepy eyes too. Yeah. He's like if Tony Stark had autism and was evil. Yeah. Uh, Ariel. So what you're saying is when you're hungry, like Pringles, once you pop, you can't stop. That's true. That's true. Markiplier. See, I know Markiplier's name because I've heard other people talk about Markiplier in relation to certain topics, but I don't have any idea who he is or what his content is. Never watched any of it. So, Tectone is another one that's come up tangentially. I've heard of him. I think I've seen him because I think he did some shit with Unsubscribe, which I've only watched a little bit of too, and only because I'm a fan of the Fat Electrician. But I don't really know all that much about him beyond the fact that certain YouTubers bring his name up every once in a while, either for or against or whatever. Seems like a big beefy bald guy. That's all I know about him. So, hell, the only reason I know who Jacksepticeye and SS Sniper Wolf are is because that whole thing where she was stalking his house and doxing it and shit made the fucking national news, like on television. It's the only reason I had any idea who either of them were. So, hey, Abe, welcome in, buddy. Mr. Beast saved me from Sam's tentacles. Yeah. No, he didn't. Stop lying. Jack, I knew I did watch him play a few games. Yeah. See, I didn't even know he was a game streamer until like way after I heard about all that shit with SS Sniper Wolf. And to be fair, I didn't hear that much about it because I didn't really go looking at it. It was all too Jerry Springer for me, I guess. Unfortunately, my friendship with a certain lioness has put certain creators in front of me who I now know who they are, and I kind of wish I didn't. Like Brian Atlas or the guys at Fresh and Fit, or just Pearl Davis. I would have no fucking idea who Pearl Davis was if it wasn't for my association with Amira. And it would be a much nicer world for me if I didn't know who she was. Ignorance, as it turns out, truly is bliss. Abe, you wussy, you be a man, fight out. Yeah. Yeah, why are you getting the guy with little bitch arms to come do it for you? So I'm old, so I was on the internet and the pool has AIDS days. I think I remember that phrase. I don't remember what that's associated with, though. At all. You have no idea who those people are. Be grateful. Just thank your lucky stars and move right past it. They're not important. They don't ultimately matter. Yeah. I mean, she seems like kind of an entitled cunt bucket, frankly. I get it, man. Yeah. Just from what I've heard, what little I've gleaned and all that, she seems like not a very good person or a nice person or, let me just put it this way. It's a good thing she's pretty. So, now you made it, Abe, you made it weird. God damn it. I don't think I have it on here anymore. I used to have this really, really great little video of an octopus squeezing into a hole and like a dude screaming over the top of that, but I don't have it anymore. 4chan memed in real life and got national attention. Yeah. I remember when 4chan was not 4chan. I mean, it was still called 4chan. It just wasn't what it later became. And then 8chan came along and was like, hold my beer, bitches. So I remember when going to deviantart.com wasn't like a horrifying thing, back when they had like, I mean, some of the art was out there and all that, but it wasn't dominated entirely by Rule 34, which don't go there now. It's not good. It's not good. Makes hentai look like vanilla sex. Abe knows how to take it. Yeah, okay, we're not talking about that. So, OG 4chan was the best. I mean, yeah, it has man, I used to there were a few sites I frequented back in the day, but none of them were like, I wasn't on like MySpace or Facebook or, any of that stuff. I pretty much didn't really watch videos, so I didn't see a lot of YouTube unless I was looking up like a tutorial on how to, you know, fix the seal ring on a sink, kind of thing. If I needed to know something, YouTube at one time was an excellent place for like DIY videos. I mean, you can still find them. They've just kind of been drowned out by AI and a bunch of fucking other noise. But it used to be the go-to place for that, and that was pretty much the extent of my use of it. I didn't really go in for a whole lot of the other stuff. But I don't know. I was kind of like in the world and not online in those days too. So, like I said, things have changed. Obviously, I'm a shut-in now, and I spend most of my life online. But there was a time. There was a time when I got outside. Yeah, once in a while. I even touched a little grass here and there. So, all right. Lepo, thanks for hanging out, man. I appreciate you being here. Have a good night. We'll see you next time. All that, but yeah, it was. I don't know. The internet was a different animal back then, though. Too, it was a whole lot less regulated. We didn't like. Well, the government. So the government has always been trying to find a way to regulate the internet, right? This isn't for your safety. This isn't because they care about kids. It's not for any of the reasons that they give you. It's always because you can't tax what you can't regulate, and they want their cut. That's what it's always been. That's why they finally legalized marijuana in a bunch of different places, and not all places, but in a bunch of different places. I live in a state that's known colloquially as the contact high state because medical and some personal use marijuana is legal in every state that touches Wyoming's borders, but it's not legal here at all. So, um, oh God, I don't even remember where I was going with that whole thing, but yeah, I don't know. Times were different. Oh yeah. Now I remember. All right, so but the only reason they got any go ahead to get legalized at all is because they finally figured out a way to tax it. They finally figured out how to get their cut, without coming off like fucking complete assholes about it. Right? That's the same thing happened with booze and prohibition, right? A lot of that had to do with the fact that there was a lot of unregulated sales going on anyway, even when it was legal, and so they made up some excuses to make it illegal, and then there was a constitutional amendment and some other shit happened and all this and that. And anyway, long story short, it didn't work out. So eventually they re-legalized it with another constitutional amendment because then they could regulate the industry better and they could tax it because there's like, well, if you guys aren't out bootlegging behind our backs and you're actually having to do this in storefront, guess what? You owe us taxes. You owe us business tax, property tax. Let's see, we're going to tax you on your inventory, on what you do carry and what you don't carry. We're going to tax you for insurance. And it's like all of a sudden, oh, look, we can make a ton of fucking money on you now because you're legal. That's the only reason they did it. And the same thing's happening now with the all the I'm drawing a complete blank here, guys. The acts that are coming out that are being proposed that have to do with regulating the internet, with ID verification, with that sort of thing. And when we're already seeing this, a lot of companies, YouTube included, are rolling out ID verification schemes in anticipation that this will go legal or that it will become law at a federal level, right? Which is awesome because you know who's actually behind this shit, aside from obviously the WEF and the globalist sons of bitches. And arguably you could call this guy a globalist son of a bitch too, is Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg wants it to be easier to legally collect and collate your data. Something he's already been doing the entire fucking time, by the way. He just wants it to all be above board. So he's been pushing it for this legislation. And this way, if it's a law, right, the government can start cracking down on things. They can start cracking down on VPNs. They can start cracking down on, operating systems that don't have, all the newfangled bells and whistles that they're requiring, that have a kill switch somewhere that they can activate at any time because you're not complying. And they can tax the fuck out of you, right? That's what it's about. It's about generating more income and more control. That's all it's ever been about. Anyway, but they've been trying to do this for decades and failing for the most part because until recently, the internet was in fact very much the wild, wild west, right? And it refused to be governable. The best you could do was hope that places like YouTube or like, Facebook or whatever would self-regulate. And that's where moderation comes in. But they didn't always. Sometimes there used to be sites that were completely fucking unsafe. Well, I mean, there still are if you know where to look, but I'm not going to direct anybody to that shit because there's some awful, awful, awful stuff out there. But the point is there, they finally figured out a way. And it was as simple as making people fearful that their kids would see something that they didn't want them to see. It was as simple as making parents think that they didn't have any control over what their kids do or do not see, that they needed help from the government to enforce that control, right? And all of that was a lie. It was all emotional manipulation designed to tug on your heartstrings, being like, oh, but for the children. And yeah, there are some things out there that are horrendous, that are awful, that kids shouldn't be a part of. They shouldn't have anything to do with. Certain things need to be shut the fuck down. Pornhub, I'm looking at you. Facebook, right back at you. Because if you didn't know, Facebook is actually a larger platform for child pornographic material than even Pornhub. And Pornhub has been accused repeatedly of actually trafficking minors, right? These are evil places. And because those evil places exist and do what they're doing, they're the Trojan horse. They're the impetus. They're the reason that all this gets put into place. But that's just the reason not to tell you. It's just the excuse. Like I said, the Trojan horse. This is how they backdoor that shit in. This is how 1984 begins. So, anywho, end of rant. But long story short, digital ID and ID verification is bullshit. Will always be bullshit. Will never be anything other than bullshit. Do what you like with that information, but I will not be complying. Which means that this channel may have an expiration date. Which is something that I got to live with. I spent a lot of time doing this shit too. I spent a lot of time doing this shit, and I like doing this shit. But I'm not giving them my fucking information. If they brick every device that I have, I'm still not giving them my fucking information. I'm still not registering myself like, I don't know. Well, to pull a fictional example like the Mutant Registration Act, still not fucking doing it. Kiss my ass. You can't have that information voluntarily. And by the way, 90% of the information these guys are asking for, they already have. They just want you to, hand it over willingly. So, Samuel over here shaking his fist at the clouds. That is what I do, Ariel. Where have you been? It's true. But, you shouldn't be shocked at this point. This gets your blood boiling. It should. It should. Because it's horseshit. It should absolutely piss you off. It should piss everybody off. Yep. Same, dude. Same. They will, if they shut me down, they shut me down. And there's not much I can do about that besides going pirate. Which is going to be a difficult thing to do if you get any tech that is newer than the last 5 fucking years. because all that shit's going to be built into it, right? They're talking about outlawing Linux for the express purpose of forcing you to use an operating system, most likely a Microsoft operating system, that will comply with their demands, that can be regulated. They're also talking about outlawing open source software like OBS, for example, because that can't be regulated. It's out there. It's all over the place. It can't be stopped. So basically they will detect if it's in your system, and if it is, they'll shut you down. They will brick your computer. And to be fair, a lot of people are going to have a very rude awakening when this happens. Most people don't have any idea how much they rely on the internet day to day, how many things they do require connectivity day to day. Most people have no fucking idea what that actually entails. But they'll find out, especially if this shit passes. They'll absolutely find out. Yeah. And yeah, like I said, there may come a day when this YouTube channel and its associated channels over on Rumble and Twix, come to an end unceremoniously and abruptly. And I'd fucking hate for that to happen, because it leaves everybody who watches that shit in the dark about what went on. I mean, there's nothing worse than watching a channel and then it gets nuked or whatever, and you never hear from the person again. You don't know if they're alive or they're dead, or if something happened, or if it was a bullshit thing pulled by the platform, or if there was a serious infraction somewhere and a TOS violation. You have no idea. You have nothing. I mean, it's awful, but it is what it is, So yeah, if shit goes down, that's most likely what happened. Is I got shut down for non-compliance, and they're going to do it to every operating system. Every operating system. There's an operating system in your phone. There's an operating system in your car. There's an operating system in just about everything that we use, right? Everything we use is networked in some way or another. Let alone, let's forget about people who have like smart fridges and smart houses and shit like that. It'll shut their whole fucking lives down. So yeah, if it passes, I mean, to be fair though, according to sources that I don't have in front of me right now, so grain of salt, people, something like just over half of all internet traffic is bots and AI talking to each other anyway. So, like that whole dead internet theory apparently has legs. Let's see. Does that mean that the U.S. military will have to reset up everything that's running on Linux missile silos from working on them? Probably not. The U.S. military is a government installation, so it will probably be exempt from that. There will probably be a few exemptions. For example, with the ID verification laws, with the laws as written as they are right now, the ones that are being put forth, the bills and such, Twitter is subject to the new rules. Blue Sky is not. If that tells you anything, right? Blue Sky gets a pass. They get to keep doing whatever the fuck they want to do over there. And mostly what they want to do is call for the assassination of public officials. By the way, fuck Blue Sky and everybody on it. Blue Sky is like Reddit if it was gay and had AIDS. So if it passes, yeah, that's true. One day, a lot of people are going to wake up to their computers and phones not being allowed to connect to the internet for something they bought or said the government didn't like. Yeah. And you know what happens then, right? Because once that operating system goes down and then you're no longer connected to the internet, and then you try to access anything on that phone, anything at all, from your contacts, which are connected to a cloud storage, to your photo albums, also connected to cloud storage. Like things that you would think wouldn't have anything to do with that, right? But all of that shit gets uploaded, every time you fucking touch that phone, right? All of that will be inaccessible to you. And that's just for starters. We're not even talking about, obviously, any search engine shit you got going on, any specialized apps or any of that stuff. You might be lucky to get away with using your calendar and your calculator. Maybe. The calendar, I'm not 100% certain. It'll shut people down. It'll shut people down. This is true. I am not, in fact, suicidal. Ariel is correct. So if I disappear, it is the government. It is, in fact, the government. It will be the government. Hopefully, they don't kill me as well as my signal. So, yeah. Yep. Military leaders and politicians won't be affected, in part because they can't enforce it if they are infected. Affected. Sorry. Freudian slip there. Infected. But like Leos and politicians can't enforce fuck all if they're not connected, right? And the military, they're not going to do anything about the military. I mean, we spend more money on the fucking military in this country than any other nation on earth times like 100, or possibly a whole lot more than that. I might be fudging the numbers a little bit, but we're not going to go out of our way to cripple them. That's not happening. Yeah, shut all that. Yeah, no, 100%, dude, 100%. But your average person who just walks around with a smartphone thinking that it's just a useful device isn't going to necessarily think of that. They're not necessarily going to, be like, oh, well, this could be a problem later. Right? They're just going to end up losing all of their shit. It'd be like losing your wallet, but worse. Because you can't get any of it back. Not without showing them your ID and most likely your credit card. Which, by the way, that in context is less of a tax and more bribery, which is corrupt, which is how you know this shit's not good. Although taxes are evil too, in my opinion, in a lot of ways. So anytime that a population is taxed and that money is not spent on the taxed population, it's criminal. We spent more on military than the next 10 top countries combined. Yeah, and probably everybody else too. all rolled into one, something like that. I think the only one that comes anywhere near us is China. Used to be Russia, but they've scaled back quite a bit. They're still ahead of the game compared to pretty much everybody else. But in terms of like keeping up with the U.S., they scaled back a while back because communism failed. So that's why. It didn't work out so well, with the glasnost and the Gorbachev and all that nonsense. Iron Curtain came down. It changed the game for those guys, and they fell behind, and they've been behind ever since. They're still pretty fucking far ahead of a lot of other people, but I think China is, the only one who's managed to get anywhere close to us. And even then, they still don't touch where we are. So. Yep, wallet and keys are stolen, cars on blocks, and you can't call for help because guess what? Your phone's tied to the internet. So you're nothing will fucking work. I mean, if you go around, if you use fucking practically anything, man, hell, half the traffic lights are on an operating system in this country now. Most of them, I would say. It's probably more than half at this point, right? Everything we do in the modern era runs on an operating system in one form or another. And it all gets bricked. Taxes or theft. I think that's largely true. I'm not full libertarian because I think the non-aggression principle is the take of an idiot child, frankly. But I think they're commies who don't have the balls to go full commie, frankly. But they're right about the taxes thing. They're absolutely right about the taxes thing. Like China spending $250 billion on, I'm assuming that says military, right? It kind of says ilitary. So I'm guessing you just dropped the M there. But yeah. So I don't know, keep an eye out, folks, because the day is coming. There's a reason I posted so if any of you guys missed it, over on the community tab on YouTube, I posted this meme that I jacked from somebody on Twitter. Well, it kind of shows like a one-eyed octopus creature with its tentacles in everything, right? Sort of indicating exactly what digital ID is the reason I posted that. It's because A, I believe it, and B, Eldritch Horror, of course I'm gonna go with the octopus meme. It was more like a dodecapus, but yeah, if there was such a thing. It's got 12 arms or whatever. I mean, squid are close, right? Let's talk about that for a second, because I find these things endlessly fascinating. Cephalopods, I mean. So squid is not an octopus, right? It's got a whole different thing going on to it, like the arrow-shaped heads. Sometimes the real small ones that live in the shells are like cuttlefish or whatever. But they're basically just tiny squid, whatever. But they have, I think, cuttlefish have 10 tentacles, right? And squid have 8 tentacles, but they also have 2 extra long whips, which are much more grabby and all that. So, I guess in theory, it could be possible that there's a cephalopod out there that has, I don't know, 100 fucking arms. It's possible. I don't see why not. It's not like they're limited by skeletal structure because they don't have one. little side note for you. Yeah. Essentially that, but as applied to the tech world and digital ID. Yeah. Yeah, basically. So, and I mean, hey, we got Abe in the chat here, man, who is awesome and a good pal and everything. He's getting it way before we do. Right? All of this shit's happening in the entire West, not just the United States. We're behind everybody else in this regard. Right? Dude lives in England, man. They are basically a surveillance state. They've been a surveillance state since long before they were a Muslim state. Since long before your average British person on the streets of London had ever even heard of falafel. But it's they're did you ever see that meme where right outside of George Orwell's actual childhood home there was a sign with a camera on it and an eye? Basically, the irony of that whole thing about how exactly what he predicted and feared was happening not only in his home country, but in front of his fucking house. Yep. That is because they are the most Western of the Asian nations, right? They're hitting us all. They're hitting us all. They went after Australia first, and New Zealand, and England, and most of Europe is following suit pretty fucking fast. Canada, and us, and all that. I think the only reason it hasn't taken root in some of the Baltic nations, that specifically Russia is not a Baltic nation, but you know what I mean, some of the Slavic nations, is because they're Slavs and they don't fucking get along with anybody, frankly. They're not really falling for that shit. They want to be the globalist agenda, not succumb to someone else's globalist agenda, essentially. So, yep. Peter Thiel. I am starting to think that Peter Thiel might, in fact, be the biblically prophesied Antichrist, to sort of tie into the title that I gave this stream a little bit, because dude's obsessed with it, and he's trying to build the largest, most diligent and horrifying surveillance state ever conceived. And again, as previously mentioned, he's obsessed with the Antichrist. I think he might be the beast, dude. I think it's possible. I ain't even a Christian, and I think Peter Thiel might be the beast. So, Muslims are trying to take over the Western countries. They are. I don't think that those are necessarily two separate issues. I think that a lot of that's like rolled up into a big ball of messy spaghetti, political spaghetti. So I think conquerors, one world orderers have a tendency to think along similar lines, and they will work together to achieve the subjugation of the general populace, and only then will they turn on each other. And I think, radical Islam is one of those forces. So is Davos. So is China. So is Russia. So is us. But they're all kind of working at. They're walking hand in hand down the path, but sort of working at cross purposes, which is why I think not one of them has actually succeeded in anything. Is I think that they do sabotage each other, because everybody wants to be top dog in the end. Everybody wants to rule the world, to sort of half-ass quote Tears for Fears. It's just weird since he's gay. You'd think he'd want to avoid it. I mean, it's not going to matter so much if he's gay and the Antichrist, right? He's not going to give a shit. He's not going to have himself executed for that. But I don't know. I don't know why there's a lot of pushback to the globalist agenda. Germany's right-wing party just one big. I mean, yeah. I'm sorry. I don't know. There's a lot of pushback. No, I agree. I agree that there's a ton of pushback on it, which I think is why it hasn't happened 100% total takeover yet, because there is pushback on it. Hungary's been pushing back on it for quite a while now, even though Orban's now out. To a degree, Argentina is pushing back against it, although I think that he's basically. I'm starting to think Malay's trading one globalist cocksucking group for another, frankly, because suddenly he's real buddy with Netanyahu, of all fucking places, right? But, he's also against Davos, and I'm for people being against Davos. So, it just, I guess you take the wins where you can find them, I suppose. But yeah, there has been a lot of pushback. I think there's even been pushback in this country, just not nearly enough of it. Not nearly enough. Like Trump keeps teasing us with the whole, oh yeah, we're gonna get out of all of this horrible stuff. Let's get out of the WHO. Let's get out of NATO. Oh, we're not really getting to get out of NATO. We're just trying to get our way. So we're gonna tell these guys that we're gonna leave NATO, and then they'll do what we say and all this stuff. And we still have the veto option. Oh, we gotta go do this. We gotta go do that. Oh, but we're not really gonna do these things. Like, it's starting to get fucking old, man. And I'm starting to get a little irritated with it. He could be pushing back a lot fucking harder than he is. But on the other hand, if the election had gone the other way, I think we'd be fucking neck deep in it. So it's not like there's no pushback from the Oval Office. Just not enough, in my opinion. So, yeah, I don't know, man. It's all connected. It's all connected to the Georgia Guidestones. It's all connected. And I'm not wearing a tinfoil hat because I'm not Sasquatch, and I don't think that far ahead, frankly. I don't have one ready made, but I do. I think that that's definitely going to be a thing that we're going to have to deal with down the road, and it's going to get shitty. It's going to get real shitty. And let's circle back around to the whole apocalypse thing. So in the title, you'll notice I said apocalypse is just a Greek word for revelation. This is 100% accurate. Well, it's not 100% accurate. It's an ancient Greek word for revelation. It doesn't necessarily mean the end of all things. It just means new information. That's it. That's all it's ever meant. New information. New information that, granted, changes your outlook and possibly your world in the most metaphorical way possible forever, right? There's no going back once you have that new information. But so it does, in essence, destroy you and the world that you inhabited before you had that information. But now you're the you who has that information, who's a different you, in the new world that information has then opened before you. Right? It doesn't necessarily mean that fire and brimstone, though. Everybody goes through a dozen little apocalypses in their lifetime. Everybody does. Hell, I could name a couple dozen world-changing events in my lifetime alone. 9/11, right? Y2K, the Berlin Wall coming down, you know, Challenger 7, right? All of these things changed the future, changed the way that we moved forward, individually in some cases, and in a lot of cases as a society. You know, I would consider them apocalypses because the world that existed before 9/11 no longer exists. The world that existed before CERN turned its shit on in 2012 no longer exists. We live in a different world now because of new information and events. If that makes sense. I think it does. Samuel standing in front of a pegboard like that. I mean, yeah. 8-track to cassettes. I mean, to a degree, yeah, you could consider that because it changed the way that we process and store information, right? The way we compress it. And 8-track is similar, and it's 8, by the way, not A. But is similar in kind of the way that it works to a cassette. But I think the actual coding of the information is different, and it did change things, right? People never went back to 8-track. Although, to be fair, I think they were competing at one point in time, and it just one proved more popular than the other. Both of them are viable technologies. They work just fine, but regular gas becoming unleaded. Yeah, that might be whatever. For my time. I don't know. I'm being generous here. So, I don't know. You could be like an 80-year-old granny with a dirty fucking mouth for all I know. I choose to imagine you otherwise. Yeah, beta and VHS are almost the identical technology. It was just, packaging really. Reel to reel is amazing. Yeah, yeah. Or hell, how about the very first time that a rotoscope was unveiled in a public, right? That changed things forever. Or photography, the first time somebody had to sit there for 35 minutes while a guy adjusted everything just right and hopefully didn't explode when he set off his flash, right? And then that picture, they saw themselves sitting there, immortalized forever in this frame that they didn't have to sit there for like 3 days waiting for a painter to do, right? It changed everything, right? A lot of little apocalypses. And you're just talking technology now. I mean, there's any number of things that you could think of. I would consider a divorce an apocalypse of sorts. The world you lived in before and the person that you were then no longer exists. You're now this person in this world. So, and I think we're due for another one. And I think that this digital ID and this ID verification nonsense, I think it's going to be the catalyst. I think it's going to change everything again forever. Not for the better necessarily. Hopefully not for the worse, but probably. But it will change things, and there won't be any going back afterwards. Guys like Shadu, who were born after 9/11, they don't know what they missed. All they've seen and read and heard, a lot of which has been doctored. They have no experience of it outside of history books, outside of video formats, because they didn't live it. They don't understand that there was a world before and it was better. They just know that something came before. And even then, they're still kind of taking their word for it, because what kid doesn't think that the world started when they were born? Right? I used to know this guy who would refuse to watch black and white movies because they came out before he was born and were therefore trash. So yeah, so that was a thing that actually used to happen on occasion when shit went wrong. That's why I brought that up, but that was the exact scene that I had in my head, Andy. You're absolutely right. Maybe when the sun, I mean, it's been doing that, right? It's been doing that. We had another massive solar flare just the other week, right? Massive, huge amounts of magnetics and radiation and whatnot. Hey, Aaron, you did. You kind of did. Yeah. Better late than never, I suppose. Yep, indeed. Although it's mostly just bullshitting. This time around, I didn't really have like a topic. There's a couple of rants here and there, but welcome in, welcome in. So, and speaking of which, actually, I'm probably going to bring this to a close because I need to get some goddamn sleep. I need to figure out something else so the game streams, while I'm enjoying them and I really want to do it, and I actually have this like urge to fire it up after we close this stream out. I really shouldn't because I need some proper fucking sleep because I haven't been getting any for weeks now. I just, you can probably tell I'm a little raw in the throat and slurring my words a little bit. That's a product of not sleeping properly or sequentially. It's I need to start taking a little bit better care of myself if I'm gonna keep this shit up, frankly. But yeah, I'm not going to be doing any gaming tonight. That's not happening tonight. I've made up my mind about that. I'm sticking to it. But that's not to say that the urge isn't there. We'll be back tomorrow night. Hopefully, I can start earlier than I have been. I've been starting really fucking late and going until wee hours in the morning. It's not healthy. It's not good. That's what I come here for. Give me the rants and BS. Yeah, fair enough. Oh, man. Yeah, don't be an atom. I mean, look, I've got intermittent insomnia anyway. Like, it comes and goes whether I want it to or not. And honestly, I feel like I'm in the middle of just an extended bad patch. Sleep will come eventually. I just hope it comes tonight. It probably won't, but I'm going to try. So, yeah. Yeah, I need to get up for work and all that shit. Yeah. So, and it is a Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever the fuck day it is. I think it's Wednesday. I don't know. I don't remember. Here in about 15 minutes, it'll be Thursday. It'll be fine. So, but hey, Aaron, I appreciate it. Even last minute like that, I do appreciate it. You're awesome. Find a droning voice audiobook of a horrible story. That doesn't work. That doesn't work for me because then it just irritates me. And when I get irritated, I wake the fuck up. It's not a good plan, Andy, for me personally. It's just things that get under my skin or annoy me or get on my nerves anger me, and then the anger causes the adrenaline to happen, and then, oh fuck, I'm awake again. And now that the anger's worn off, I'm still awake and I can't fall asleep. So yeah, that's not going to work out, but I appreciate the suggestion. So yeah, absolutely. All right. Thanks, folks. Appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate you guys hanging out. As always, we will see you next month with the next one of these Whispering in the Darks. However, we will be back tomorrow night with more, probably Crimson Desert. I got a little mad at it last time, but yeah, we're probably going to go back to it. I'm like the lover that gets beaten and just can't get enough. Anyway, and then we've got Abyssal Musings coming up on Friday. Be over on Devil's Channel, Beelzehub. After that, for the pub, we've got Screaming into the Void coming up Saturday afternoon, where I have an interesting question to pose that came up today in conversation with my sister. I'm going to have to call my mother and tell her not to watch this one. Anyway, if Amir goes live, I will be helping out with her Saturday night, and when we'll be back to the game shit and the horrible cycle of lack of sleep. So thank you all for coming. We'll see you all soon. Appreciate you guys. Have a great night. And remember, it could always be worse. That's it. No caveat. It just could be worse. Bye, everybody.